Hola, soy el profesor Antón García Fernández. Welcome to a new video on this YouTube channel aimed at clarifying a few points of grammar in Spanish that are sometimes difficult for my students at the university. On this video, we're going to review how to talk about age in Spanish, how to ask somebody how old they are, and how to answer that question correctly. This is something that might be a little bit confusing because the expression in English is different from the expression in Spanish. In English, we use the word to be, which in Spanish would be el verbo ser, whereas in Spanish, when we talk about age, we always use the verb tener, which means to have. So when we are talking about how old we are, what we are really saying is how many years we have. In order to ask somebody what their age is or how old they are, we need to use, as I say, the verb tener. And for that reason, we're going to go back and review the forms, the conjugation in the present of the verb tener. Yo tengo. Tú tienes. Él, ella o usted tiene. Nosotros o nosotras tenemos. Ellos, ellas o ustedes tienen. Tengo, tienes, tiene. Tenemos, tienen. That's the conjugation of the present of the verb tener, which means to have in Spanish. And we use this verb in Spanish to talk about age. And the question that we ask is the following. ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes? This is the question we would ask of somebody that we know, a friend or somebody about our age, somebody in our family, because that is the informal register. ¿Cuántos años tienes? If we are talking to somebody that we don't know, somebody who's older or who is in a more important position, somebody like the president of the university or something like that, then this is a formal situation. And in that case, what we will ask is, ¿Cuántos años tiene usted? Using the usted form. ¿Cuántos años tiene usted? In any case, whether it is the informal version of the question, ¿Cuántos años tienes? Or the formal version, ¿Cuántos años tiene usted? The answer, of course, is going to include the verb tener. And the answer would be, Tengo 20 años. Tengo 20 años, which means something like I am 20 years old, or I am 20. Tengo 20 años. Or you could say, for example, Tengo 43 años. Tengo 43 años. I am 43 years old. In any case, you use the verb tener, and then, of course, you use the word años, which means years. And remember to write it with an ñ, because if you forget the ñ, the meaning of the word changes radically. Of course, you can also talk about how old somebody else is. And in that case, you're talking about somebody else, you're not talking about yourself, so the form you will use will not be tengo. What you will use is the third person form, the form for él y ella. Okay, for example, if you want to say, my father is 52, then you will say, mi padre tiene 52 años. Mi padre tiene 52 años. If you want to say, for example, that your sister is 25, then you would say, mi hermana tiene 25 años. Mi hermana tiene 25 años. It is very important to remember that when you are talking about being 21 or 31 or 41 or 51 or any number that ends in 1, then the O drops. For example, if you want to say, I am 21 years old, you would say, Tengo 21 años. Tengo 21 años. In that case, the number 21, 21, drops the O, 21 años. Also, if you want to say, for example, I am 41, the same thing happens. Tengo 41 años. Tengo 41 años. The O drops from the number 41. This happens every time that an age ends in 1. 21 is just one word with an accent on the U. 31, it's 3 words with no accent. 41, again 3 words with no accent, and so on. As you can see, it is very important to review your numbers. That's another reason why I always tell students that it is very important to learn how to count at least from 0 to 100 in Spanish, because we use the numbers for many of these exercises, and when you're talking about age, you will definitely need the numbers. It is also important to remember, as I said at the beginning of this video, that to tell age, to talk about age, we use the verb tener, to have, not the verb ser, to be, which in English it's the opposite. We use the verb to be when we talk about age. This is one of the reasons, again, why I always tell the students that it is very important to start thinking in Spanish. To know that when it comes to age, we should not be translating directly from English into Spanish, because then you're going to get the wrong construction. In Spanish, we use the verb tener. Tengo 43 años. Mi hermana tiene 37 años. Muchas gracias por todo. I hope that this helps you review your age in Spanish, how to tell age in Spanish. Soy el profesor Antón García Fernández. Muchas gracias y hasta la próxima.